Today, we've got Matt from CapForge and Melanie from Avesk back on the show to talk about all about what's happening with Amazon sellers who want to sell their business nowadays, new regulations that sellers in Europe need to be aware of, and more. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the Amazon or Walmart world. And we've got a couple podcast veterans here, M&M, Melanie, and Matt. Now, have you guys ever met in person yourselves, in person or online?
No, we haven't yet.
We haven't.
Excellent. That's what I love about this. And also, you guys will be speaking on stage together at the Sell and Scale Summit. And that's one thing we'll be talking about a little bit later. But I just wanted to first reach out to you guys, bring you back, and we'll talk a little bit about what you guys might be talking about at the summit. But, this is 2022. Things are different than when you were on the podcast. Things always change in the Amazon and e-commerce world, and so let's just first talk about what's up in your world. Let's start with Matt here first. Like, what's the hot topic for you? Like trends that you've seen, things that you've been dealing with sellers here in 2022.
Sure. So, one of the things that's changed significantly just in the last 12 months is that, the buying activity of e-commerce businesses has really changed. The landscape was changed 12 months ago. Aggregators were coming out of the woodwork. They were making big offers to e-com sellers with brands that, had barely kind of hit the ground running and were just growing. And now we've seen a big pullback, right? That a lot of aggregators who were busy buying have slowed way down or stopped altogether. A few of them have gone away completely. And the market has really shifted to where before they were trying to do volume, they were just trying to buy as many brands as they could that were pumping out a certain amount of revenue. They've really sort of pulled back and they're now looking for quality. They want to see brands that can sustain, that can grow, that can maintain margins, that have a competitive differentiation over other products in the same niche. So it's really been a fast shift. Driven by the market. We're heading into or already in a recession, depending on who you listen to. Inflation is up, lending rates have gone up. So it's really changed the world of what the aggregators are willing to buy, willing to pay. And that's changed the mindset of a lot of e-commerce sellers who are kind of looking for that build it quick and then exit plan. They've had to sort of step back a little, rethink what their targets are, and rethink a little bit about how seriously they're taking, building a quality business over just trying to ramp up revenue and sales. So that's the single biggest shift I would say that we've seen. I think, in general, it's good, right? It's prompting people to run a quality business over just driving general sort of sales with whatever you can sell, however fast you can sell it. But it's definitely caused some pain too, and caused some people to rethink their plans.
Okay, so then what's some of your what's a big difference then of like, let's say you're helping a seller out and they're interested in selling their business. Like, is the main difference just like, hey, the multiples are less now, or you've even seen some people who might have been able to sell their business a couple years ago, but now, somebody in a similar situation, you're advising them, well, you know what, I think you guys need to go back and work on your profitability a little bit more because things are different. Like, is it that extreme now, or what do you see?
Yeah, definitely some people who would have been able to sell 12 months ago aren't able to sell now, right? They just they're not quite big enough and their brand isn't quite well established enough, and their margins aren't high enough for the aggregators to be as interested, or even private buyers. And the other thing that we're seeing is there really is a focus on building a quality business. So if you have a business that's just sort of a mix, you've got a garlic press and you've got a lawnmower, and you've got some socks, right? That's not a brand. Those are just products you found that had some margin that you decided to throw in and sell under, one consolidated account. But what the buyers now are looking for is they want to see something where a customer may actually search for a brand name and say, I had a good experience with that brand. I want to come back to them and buy again. I might be interested in what other related products they're offering. But if you're selling, fish oil supplements, and then you're also selling a garlic press, they're not going to see any connection there, right? There's not, why would I buy your garlic press just because I liked your fish oil supplements? But if you have, something else related, vitamin D supplements or something, and you've built a brand and it makes sense and hangs together, that kind of quality is going to be much more attractive than somebody who's just trying to grind out sales of whatever kind of product they can find that they think they can make some money on. Those businesses, can still do okay, but they're not going to attract the interest from buyers. And so that's what we're coaching our clients on is take a step back, think about the business you're building. Don't just think of yourself as somebody that flips products on the Amazon platform or whatever platform you're selling on. Be intentional about the business you're building if you want to exit with maximum value at some point.
On your side, Melanie, it's been a bit longer since you've been on the podcast. I think it was like the end of 2020. So, what about you? What are you seeing differently in the world of e-commerce? Apart from what Matt has talked about, what have you been seeing that's different nowadays with your clients?
So I think from our side, we've experienced a huge attrition on numbers, and then these are sellers that are expanding into new markets. And I've experienced that sellers are sort of like more or less like consolidating now. So the spread on expansion, it's sort of like more refined now, even though we are seeing Amazon introducing new platforms or marketplaces, and you would expect that people will be going crazy. I would say sellers, and I don't know whether it's because of the inventory shortages that has been there and the cost of transportation that they've gone up. So sellers, they are being very careful on how and which platforms they are expanding to. And I would say there's more introduction of strategy now on sellers than I've ever seen before.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, well, what about new, like on the legal side and new rules and stuff, especially in Europe? I remember you had written an article for our website about the VAT e-commerce package and things like that. So, what are some things that people selling in Europe, whether they're Europe based or whether they're American based and selling in Europe? What are some things that are new-ish, in the last year or so that people need to be aware of?
So we've had a lot of changes, 2021 and 2022. So 2021, it saw Brexit being kicked in, and the new changes in customs rules, but also European market countries. They were actually, some of them, they didn't know much about e-commerce. They had to get themselves up to date on how e-commerce actually works and jump in the trend and understand Amazon in particular as a platform, and also understanding Amazon seller, what it looks like, because they had introduced these rules which they were rather late. They were running about 5 years late on introduction of those rules. So we saw the customs changes. It meant that there was a division now between the UK and the EU 27 from a shipping point of view. Sellers, where they used to ship just in the UK only, they were now, that wasn't going to be possible for them to carry out trade across Europe and as well as the UK if they shipped in one country. So which means, shipping had to be distributed into two. So one coming into the UK, one going into Europe. We saw UK introducing postponed VAT accounting to support sellers so that they didn't have an initial outlay of cash, followed by France as well, which came from literally nowhere, postponed VAT accounting, and that's the good of it. But we saw also Germany being a bit more difficult on sort of like accepting shipments for companies that didn't have representation in Europe. So, which means there was an introduction then of indirect representation. And that's where us as a company, we thought, how do we support sellers during this time? Because it's not just about you hiring a shipping company, shipping the product. You need more than that now. You need a customs representative or an indirect representative. And that's where we came in. And after that, in July, 1st of July 2021, there was IOSS and OSS rules which were introduced to simplify the VAT on how VAT is calculated in Europe. We saw in January, 1st of January 2022, and very recently, 6 months ago, we saw the introduction of EPR, which is a carbon tax on any goods that are being sold on platforms. And now, as sellers and producers, we need to be responsible for the life journey of the products that we sell on markets. And as you know, that there are treaties that are there across the world about climate change. So this is to
This
combat
affected all of Amazon Europe, or like only Germany, or
this is
which?
this is gonna be rolled out in all of Europe, but as
Okay.
of today, it's in France and Germany. So
Okay.
which
Yeah,
is
I
the
remember
expo.
we have a German podcast, and Marcus actually interviewed somebody from Amazon Germany about this, but I don't
Yeah,
speak Deutsch, so like I
yeah,
couldn't understand what they're. But I saw something about EPR and this and that. I was like,
yeah.
okay, this must be big, because Amazon actually wanted to come on the podcast, and then I just remembered the letters EPR, but I didn't use Google Translate to find out totally about that. So yeah, please continue explaining about that.
Yeah, so EPR is an extended producer responsibility. What it means is that every product that is sold, so the seller is deemed as the end user of the product, even though it's going to another consumer. So there
Hmm.
is a tax contribution. This is just in simple language. There is a tax contribution that has to be made by
Somehow,
the
even your
extent.
simple language goes above my head sometimes, because I'm kind of dumb when it comes to these things. But please make it as simple as possible,
I,
Melanie.
I translate this as it's going to be expensive. That's what I would translate it
Yeah,
as.
that's more my language there. All right, continue, Melanie.
So it is a tax that is charged on every product that is being sold. So which means
That
that
I understand. Okay, a
yeah.
tax
Yeah.
on new
So
products. Okay,
but
that's not what I wanted to hear, or what other sellers. Hey, but we have to keep it real here. Okay.
you know when you talk about tax, I think sellers they think, oh, another tax, it's another
Yeah.
VAT. It's not VAT. How I actually translate it is, if you go out with the family for dinner every month,
Hmm.
so this time you're gonna have to just miss one of your expensive dinners to contribute towards the environment. So it's an environmental tax that
Okay.
sellers are contributing towards. So we have a responsibility as individuals with the client, with the environment, on how things are going at the moment. So that's why Germany has introduced it. So Germany kicks in actually on the 31st is the deadline. So which means come 1st of July of in a week's time, people will have to be compliant. France already kicked in on the 1st of January 2022. So right now we are in the middle of a storm here at Avask, whereby we are looking to get sellers compliant
What does
first
that mean? Like,
on
does
packaging.
is this something that like sellers need to start calculating and remitting themselves, or is this something that Amazon is adding to the retail price? Is it something that Amazon is automatically taking away? Like, how do sellers stay, in compliance with this?
So they need to know the life cycle of their product. What product are they producing? How much plastic was there? And then we do the calculations internally and then send those calculations to the eco organizations that are responsible to charge that amount of tax. So Amazon as a platform, they have a responsibility to ensure that everybody that is trading on their platform is compliant. And for us, we've got a responsibility to our sellers to make sure that they are compliant, they are VAT, sorry, they are registered with the Ecotax or EPR.
So then, how is it calculated? Like, how do you know how much that is due? Is it based on the life cycle of the product, or it's just a standard percentage, or how does that work?
It's based on volume of sales and the amount of products that you are selling and what type of product you are selling.
It sounds like another reason that people might consider not moving into the EU, right? If you're doing well in the US, this is just one more hurdle to kind of get over. And you say, skip one expensive meal a month, but I worry about the people who are already eating ramen and skipping meals, right? They don't they don't have the room to skip another expensive meal because they weren't eating them in the first place.
Right,
So
but
is that something that even like let's say me as an American person selling in Europe, I would be responsible for, or is this only for your EU citizens?
this is for anybody that is going to be selling in particular in Germany and France. Those are the two countries that have introduced these rules. UK is going to be coming up now, which is next year. So, I mean, at the end of the day, all countries in Europe would be introducing this, and this is where the opportunity I think it comes through in as an American, you saying that it's too much rules I can't deal with. That's why I am here to support you with those
Very.
rules. But
Oh, you know
also,
us too well.
but also, I think what is important is to understand the opportunity that is available. So the barriers of entry, they are now a bit higher from a compliance point of view. So, which means you need to think very strategically if you are going to be looking at launching. But that market that has got higher barriers of entry, what it does is that there is fewer people that wants to go there. That's where the opportunity lies for the seller that is serious about selling. So, which means it's not now a market for opportunists. It's not somebody who's just picked up a pair of socks and think, do you know what? I'm gonna just stick Melanie on the product with a funny photo and it sells that product. It's gonna be the people that have developed very good products. That's how I
Okay, well,
actually look
that's a
at
good,
the
that's another
market.
way of looking at it. So yeah, I like that. You know, it's a weeds out the lazy competition of the people who just trying to use black hat strategies. You can't really get around things like this. Okay, I get that. Now coming back to America here. Matt, we talked a little bit about inflation and then especially the last year and a half. Shipping prices, shipping times. I would imagine overall you've maybe seen a dip in profitability amongst your customers, or how much money they're clearing at the end of the day, or are most of your clients you see like have just been trying to raise prices to counteract some of these things.
We've definitely seen a dip in profitability on average. There are still some people doing well, but I mean, they're kind of facing a number of headwinds. One, even just, not that many years ago, you didn't have to spend nearly as much on ads to rank and get traffic, right? Now, even with a well established product, an established brand, people are searching for your brand name. There's still competitors now launching sponsored ads against your brand name. So even with that, you've got to spend ad money that you didn't used to have to spend. Then, of course, you've got shipping and logistics challenges and costs there. The price of diesel keeps going up and up. Everything is just getting more expensive to get here. But then again, at the end of the day, on the Amazon platform, right, when a customer goes to search for a particular product, they are presented with a ton of choices. So your pricing power is still kind of held down, right? If you try and keep adding cost to the product to fight your costs and inflation and maintain your margins, somebody else is coming in and grabbing that market share, competing with you on price. And customers at the end of the day are price sensitive, especially now because they're dealing with inflation. They're seeing the value of their paycheck go less far than it used to, so they're more price sensitive. So what that means is really for our clients, our sellers, they're really facing a shrinkage of their profit margin. The way to combat that, what we're coaching our clients on doing, is one, again, making sure that you're really being careful about the products you're selling. You may have a product that used to be profitable, now it's break even or even losing money. You've got to monitor that constantly. And if products are now losing money for you, stop selling them, right? People kind of get lost in the, well, I've got a mix overall and I make money overall, right? But 20% of your products are actually negative for you. So you've got to cut that. And then really monitoring ad spend. It's easy for ad spend to kind of get out of control. You're testing keywords, you're testing different strategies, and then you find out 50% of your ad spend was probably wasted on negative returns or even zero returns. So keeping a careful eye on that data, watching the numbers like a hawk, is the way to try and maintain what you can of your profitability. If you're still just seat of the pants guy that's just winging it, you're most likely the one that's going to feel that pinch first and go negative before anyone else.
Yeah. Well, I mean that kind of almost goes along with what Melanie was talking about is this kind of weeds out some of those just hobbyists or hey, anybody can just throw something up and have success. No, and so now things are getting so saturated, but now it's like, hey, you want to start a business on Amazon, or you want to keep it going, you really gotta you really gotta be some of the best, and so now if you've made it and you figure this stuff out, you don't have as many competitors as you did before. Now, another thing we talked about earlier is you guys will be speaking on stage at Sell and Scale Summit, and actually speaking on stage together. That's something that we wanted to do a little bit different here at our conference. Is we wanted to not just have there will be a couple, we're not sticking somebody with Gary V and like let's have a counterpoint here or something like that, but for the most part, we wanted multiple people on the stage at the same time who are experts in their field, and both of you are experts in your field, but who didn't necessarily know each other. They didn't have like some hidden agenda to pump each other up. Not to say that you guys are enemies or anything like that, but it's like it gives people a little bit more peace of mind. Like, all right, well, just Matt is up here and nobody's on the stage. He can just say whatever he wants, and I guess I gotta take
And
it. But then
I
now
would
all of a
too.
sudden,
I would just say whatever
yeah.
I wanted.
Now all of a sudden Matt's up there and he says something, and then we got somebody like Melanie to kind of check it, like, wait a minute, Matt, like I don't know about you bloody American, talking about this kind of thing or whatever she would say, but you guys can do like points and counterpoints. That's something different that we're doing at Sell and Scale, that we have multiple experts on stage at the same time. So now I know we're still in June, July, and we're not. I know you haven't prepared your presentation fully yet. It's not until September, but I would love to get like just a sneak peek from both of you as to like maybe a cool tip or something that you're going to be talking about on stage to get people excited. Like, because again, it's sometimes hard to get. Let's be real, it's hard to get excited about accounting things and taxes and
What?
stuff.
How can you say that?
But it's arguably one of the most important things, arguably one of the most important things that every seller has to deal with. And so you guys make boring things and unsexy things interesting. So what are these unsexy things that you're going to be making interesting? Let's just stay with you for a little bit, Matt.
Well, I think one of the topics that we want to talk about is just the general importance of this information, right? I still run into sellers daily who are, well, I kind of keep track of some stuff in Excel, and at the end of the year, I give a bunch of stuff to my CPA and he tells me if I made any money. But, you know, those days are really kind of over. As we've just been talking about, the world keeps getting more complex. Competition keeps making things harder. Prices keep going up. And so your profitability is more challenging. You really have to be involved in your data on a regular basis. You have to be looking at the numbers, know your numbers, and making good data driven decisions. And I don't think Melanie and I are going to have a difference of opinion on that. I think what, I might
Mhm.
look at is to say, well, maybe, moving, if you're a US seller successfully selling here, you may want to give a second or third thought to expanding to the EU and UK, because there's going to be regulatory challenges, and that may or may not make sense. You really have to understand your profitability to know if that move is going to work for you. And then I'm sure Melanie can, okay, but we can help with the regulatory. And to her point, it's an opportunity. If you can overcome those barriers, you can be successful, and great. Then we can make sure, that your numbers prove out that you can sell successfully, not only in the US, but the UK and the EU as well. So we're going to talk about, the importance of understanding your data, having it accurate and current and timely, and using it to make decisions. And then, I think one of the decisions you can definitely consider is how you can move and expand and make sure that you're successful in other countries, other platforms, with regulatory assistance on some of the stuff that's just too challenging for a small business owner to get on their own.
I'm excited. I hope everybody else out there is too. Melanie, what about you? What's a little sneak peek about what you're going to be talking about as well?
Yeah, so I think Matt is spot on there. And, they say that tax or accounting or figures are actually boring. There's one thing that I'm going to give credit to aggregators when they came into the space, because I think when they came into the space and everybody was sort of like on the selling mode, everybody got I would say, more compliant. Everybody wanted to make sure that their accounting is in order, their bookkeeping, and it sort of like motivated people to to start doing or preparing SOPs and put them in place and have their management accounts on a monthly basis and just know their finances. So that's what aggregators did. They sort of like they threw a bit of some motivation. Now, one thing that I would say is that selling of Amazon businesses has been there before aggregators. So, which means there's still opportunities there. There will still be other companies that will might see your business to be attractive. So, do not lose the momentum. So, let's make accounting, tax, global expansion even sexier than it was before.
Even sexier. I like that.
Phrases that you have never heard on a podcast in history. Oh, so instead of the MAGA hat, it's going to be MASA, make accounting sexy again. Is going to be your.
Right.
I love
Right.
it. Speaking of making accounting sexy again, I want both of you in some bright colors at Sell and Scale Summit for my Zumba fitness dance class that we are going to be doing on one of the mornings. And let's just show people how sexy accounting can get. How about that? Can I have a commitment that you are coming in the morning to the Zumba class?
Game on. Yes, we're going to be there. We're going to be
Okay,
there.
I was about to say,
Commitment.
Matt is somehow very quiet here, but he spoke up there. All right, excellent.
You may regret inviting me.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I will come.
Excellent. All right, let's close out with, as we always do, with a TST 30-second tip of the day about any subject you guys want from each of you. Let's start with Matt.
So 30-second tip of the day is, once again, make sure that you have your numbers current and accurate and that you're using them to make good business decisions. I know it's easy to go with your gut. I know it's tempting to think, hey, I've been doing this a long time. I know what I should be deciding, but let's make sure that you're also using data to validate your decision making so that you don't make a mistake, because in this business, mistakes can be costly. Gut feelings can lead you down the wrong path and take capital and profits away from something you could have been doing that would have been adding to your net worth instead of taking it away. So please make sure that your accounting is current and accurate and up to date, and you're using it to help you make good decisions around your business.
I would say from my side, it's about diversification. Marketplaces are opening up all the time and expanding to new countries. So do the same, diversify your income streams, do your market research before you expand into a new countries, know about what your competition is actually doing, construct a customer advisory program, leverage your social commerce, and also look for funding to expand your business further. I think that's
I like
30
it.
seconds.
All right. Yay. Some people, the T in the TST means like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but you guys kept it. You guys kept it right on there. All right. So guys, if you haven't gotten your ticket yet to Sell and Scale, make sure to go to h10.me/S3, h10.me/S3. Use the code S3 BS100, I think is stands for Bradley Sutton, not something else, but that's my initials right there. S3BS100. Guys, save $100 off, and then make sure you guys come to the Zumba class too, and check out how people who deal with numbers all day, how they still know how to party and get down and dance not the night away, but the morning away. We danced the night away with Nelly. You guys are hope our Nelly fans would come to the concert there. All right, so Melanie and Matt, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll be seeing you in Vegas in a couple of months.